another episode of The Naked Turner. Today I'm going to be turning this small piece of maple, and it looks to be a fairly figured piece of maple. I'm going to be trying to turn it into about a 6-inch little bowl. I think it's, what is this, it was 3.5. So yeah, it's almost 7 inches. It'll probably end up being about 6 3/4 inch by 1, and I believe this is 1 1/4 inch thick. I'll double check that, but I should end up with a small, hopefully very nicely figured maple bowl. So we'll get started turning this, and don't forget to read, understand, and follow all the shop safety for the tool you're using. Today it will be primarily my lathe and lathe. Alright, I'm doing something a little different today. I have this chuck, which is essentially a screw on the end of a Morse taper number 2. I'm using that. I found this at a local garage sale, and picked it up for, I think it was like $1.50. So every once in a while you get lucky and find some stuff that's a good deal for a good price. So I'm going to try this today, see how it works. Maple smells so good. Alright, so yeah, it looks like there's some nice figuring and quilting in this. And next thing I'll be doing, I'm going to come in here for 1 sec. Get rid of this little splinter that I've got here. Just to get rid of the sharpness. Okay, so now I'm going to be coming in and creating a small mortise in the bottom of this. Very shallow, probably only about 1/8 of an inch. And I'll be starting that off with my round nose scraper. Now, what I want to do So for whatever reason, my camera stopped recording sound, so I'm going to try to go back over what I was trying to explain here. I'm using my bowl gouge to refine the foot of this bowl, and then once I have the foot of the bowl refined, I'm going to start using a little shear scraping cut here to flatten out and remove some material from the bottom of the vessel. This piece of wood has some beautiful figuring, and I'm going to try my best to unlock some of its potential. Right here, because I had to flatten out the bottom of the foot, I'm coming back in again with my skew chisel and using it as a negative rake scraper to redefine the mortise in the bottom of the foot. Okay, now I have the mortise to about 1/8 of an inch, which should be sufficient for my scrolling jaw chucks to get a good grab on. And I'm going to now start dividing the piece up into thirds approximately. I'll show where my foot is, and then I'll come over about a third, make a mark, another third, and make a mark. And that will show me the transition points through this slight ogee that I'm going to create on the bottom of the vessel. I'm removing the material rather rapidly at this point, and then I'll come back in and make some refining cuts once I've achieved the shape that I'm looking for. I tried to make an uphill cut there and then turned around and decided I'd be better off cutting, allowing the grain to do the work for me in a downhill manner. Now I'm rubbing the bevel and doing a little bit of a more refined cut. At this point, I have a pretty close proximity to the shape that I'm looking for on the bottom of this bowl. I'm using the long swept back wings on this bowl gouge to shear scrape and blend in the ogee that I created, and it makes quick work of that. I can see a shadow where a little more blending needs to be done, so I'm continuing to blend using the bowl gouge as a shear scraper. And there we go, it's just about there. I'm going to do a couple last passes here along the outer rim, and then the bottom of this bowl will be ready for some sanding. Upon closer inspection, I decide that I want to take another pass using a high angle bevel rubbing cut to get rid of some of the potential end grain tear out from the shear scraping. So I'm going to give that a try right now. I'm rubbing my bevel and I'm pulling downhill, doing a pull cut downhill to remove some tear out in that one little spot. Okay, so and that got rid of almost all of it. Now I'm going to do some sanding. Alright, so now I have it sanded down here, and I'm going to put a little bit of denatured alcohol on it. And I'm doing that to raise the grain and to prepare it for its finish. What I'll do is I'll take and flash off that alcohol. And you can't see it here, but that's just burned off all that alcohol. Alright, and now it's dry, and the grain at the end grains is puffed up here. So now I'll go back to doing some more sanding. There we go. Now I'm going to put a little bit more of that alcohol on. And that'll do a couple things. It'll re-raise the grain just a tiny bit. And it'll get rid of any of the dust that's down in those pores. And there we go. Beautiful, beautiful figure. Alright. So, now it hardly raised any grain at this point, but I am going to go and get some 400 grit wet dry, and I'll do a little wet dry sand on this now. Okay, I'm back. I've got some wet dry paper with some oil here. And this is a food safe mineral oil with a little bit of wax. Okay. Now I'm going to be switching this to forward gear. Alright. Oh yeah, that is so nice. It hardly even needs a finish on it at this point. So now what I'll do is take a rag, a clean rag, and get rid of any of that sanding debris that might be on there. Okay, so this is just, I wish you could feel this right now because it is so smooth. It's just beautifully smooth. Needs a little bit more of the sanding. And that's the other nice thing about this is you can see exactly where you might need more finishing. And it lets you. Alright, now I'm going to apply some finish. Same finish, different bowl. Friction rub. Get it started. A couple applied coats here. And alright. Now it's well coated. And I'll turn it on and turn up the speed. onto it. And actually, in this case, I didn't even have to apply a sanding sealer. It was really just the using. Okay, so I think I just lost some of this, so I'm going to go back over. I just buffed this at a high rate of speed with my finish. It goes on super fast. It literally only took me like 2 minutes, and I think my camera lost that. So I'm just redoing this real quick. Anyway, you can see that this is like a automotive finish right now. It's just like glass. Super nice. Maple finishes really well because it's so hard. And I didn't even do a sanding sealer on this. This was just sanding and then raising the grain with some denatured alcohol, and then applying several coats here of my friction rub finish. And there you have it. It's just looking fabulous. Such beautiful figuring here. I'm going to actually zoom in a little on some of this. See if I can get it in focus. And you can see the figuring in this piece of maple. It's just incredible. Chatoyance. Okay, so now I'm going to start the hollowing process. I'm going to start by trimming the outer edge. Okay, I rub the bevel. Once you do, close the flute down. I'm doing a pole. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to come in like this, rubbing the bevel. Now I'm just blending. Okay, I got a nice wall thickness right there. That feels really good. Okay. I'm going to show you real time here, just because I want you to get a sense of how it can go pretty fast. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to check for depth, but it feels like I have at least another approximately 1/4 of an inch. Pretty good out here. I can start coming in right here. the finished product right there. Still have a little more depth I could do down here in the middle, but I'm going to double check it. So right now I'm at about 5/8 depth. And that leaves me about another eighth or so that I can go down in the very middle. Okay, I'm going to try this with this thinner scraper here. Alright, so turning down the speed, putting some oil on. Finish. Oops. Alright, let me pull it out of there, and I'll take some stills of this to post. It's got a very nice, very small little foot, and it's extremely thin. It's down to about a 1/16 of an inch here at the edge, and came out really nice. Beautiful. Remove the lights a little bit, and back out of here.